Most companies get the EOR decision wrong twice. The first time is staying too long. You have got an entity in Germany. You have had it for 2 years, and you are still running employees through an EOR, paying 3 to 4 times what entity-based payroll would cost. Every month, quietly, because nobody told you to stop. The second time is leaving too early. 4 employees in Spain. Someone reads a blog post about entity setup. Suddenly, you are 8 months into legal formation, banking registration, and statutory compliance for a team that was never going to justify any of it. Most people stay on EOR too long. Most people leave too early. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which one you are, because there are only 3 questions that decide it. Here is the uncomfortable part. Your EOR provider already knows your crossover point. They can see your headcount. They can run the maths. They know exactly when entity-based payroll becomes cheaper than staying on EOR. The longer you stay, the better their numbers look. So most providers stay silent. There is no incentive to tap you on the shoulder and say, "You have outgrown us." At Team, the model is different. Our whole structure is built on 3 stages: contractor management, EOR, and your own entity, on one system with one specialist who advises you through all of it. We call it the graduation model. The entire point is that graduating is not a loss for us. It is what the relationship is designed for. Question 1. How many people do you have in a single country right now? And how complex is that market to set up in? These are the 2 variables that determine your threshold. And the threshold is not a fixed number. It moves with the country. Straightforward markets, UK, Ireland, Singapore. The entity economics tip at around 6 employees per country. Formation is fast, setup costs are low, and the ongoing compliance burden is manageable. Moderate markets, Germany, the Netherlands, Spain, the threshold moves to around 12. Formation takes longer. Works Council rules apply. The overhead needs more headcount to amortize. Complex markets, Brazil, India, China, the threshold is around 15 employees. The compliance burden in these markets is high enough that EOR fees are justified longer. Leaving early here is genuinely risky. One important nuance before we move on: some companies will rightly stay on EOR well past the threshold. If you have 1 or 2 people per country spread across 8 countries, entity overhead does not amortize across so few employees. The number of people per country is the relevant variable, not your total global headcount. So, answer question 1. If you are below the threshold for your country, EOR still fits. Stay, plan ahead, and revisit in 6 to 12 months. If you are at or approaching the threshold, question 2 matters. Question 2, where is your headcount in this country going to be in 12 months? This question catches the group that question 1 misses. The companies that are below the threshold today but are heading toward it fast. Here is why timing matters. Entity formation typically takes 8 to 16 weeks. Add banking registration on top, then payroll parallel runs. In some markets, Germany, India, Brazil, you can be looking at 6 months from decision to operational entity. If you wait until the economics force your hand, if you wait until you hit 15 employees in Germany and the EOR bill finally gets your CFO's attention, you have already lost the runway. You are now paying EOR rates for months you could have been on entity-based payroll while you scramble to set up the entity you should have started building 3 months ago. This is also why the provider relationship matters. If you are graduating with the same partner you started EOR with, one system, one specialist, no knowledge transfer, no parallel implementation, that transition cost shrinks significantly. You are not starting from scratch. You are moving down the same track. The verdict system from the crossover calculator maps this directly. Based on where your headcount sits relative to the threshold, you get one of 4 outputs. If the calculator says plan, that does not mean wait. It means set a trigger date. Decide the headcount number that starts the entity conversation and put it in a calendar reminder now. The worst version of this decision is making it reactively. The best version is having a date in your calendar 6 months before you need it. Question 3 is the one most founders skip. Have you actually modeled the crossover point? Or are you assuming you know which path is cheaper without doing the calculation? Most founders assume entity setup is expensive. They have heard a number somewhere. Maybe someone mentioned legal fees, maybe they saw an estimate online, and they anchor to that number without running it properly. So let me give you the actual variables, because there are only 4 things that determine your crossover point. Your EOR fee per employee per month, the one-time entity setup cost for that country, the ongoing per employee cost of running the entity, how fast your headcount grows. That is it, those 4 variables. Everything else is noise. And here is the one that surprises most people. Salary is not one of them. Your salary cost is identical on both paths. You pay your employees the same whether you are running them through EOR or through your own entity. Salary does not change the crossover. It cancels out. The crossover depends entirely on what you pay per employee per month in EOR fees versus what it costs per employee per month to run your own entity once you have paid the setup cost. The cheaper your EOR fee, the longer entity setup takes to win. The more expensive it is, the faster the crossover comes. One more number that belongs in your maths. If your current EOR provider is applying FX markup on cross-border salary conversion, and most do, between 1.5 and 3%, that is a hidden cost that never appears as a line item on your invoice. On a $190,000 salary, that is between $2,800 and $5,700 per employee per year. Silently. Teamed has a second tool for this. The unbundling calculator lets you take your current EOR invoice and surface the FX residual line by line. That number belongs in your crossover maths too, right? This is the Teamed Crossover Calculator. You can find it at teamed.global/tools/crossover-calculator. It is free, no sign-in, no demo request. Just run your numbers. Step 1, pick your country. I am going to use Germany as the example. Moderate complexity, 12 employee threshold. Step 2, enter your current headcount in that country. I have got 8 employees in Germany today, and I am expecting to be at 14 in 12 months. Step 3, the calculator pre-fills the market average EOR fee for Germany. If you have a contracted rate that is different, replace it. The more accurate your fee, the more accurate your result. And this is where it gets useful. The calculator projects 36 months of both paths simultaneously. EOR cost accumulates on one line. Entity cost, setup plus ongoing per employee, accumulates on the other. The month they cross is your crossover point. At the top, you get a verdict. For this scenario, plan. 3 questions. That is all this decision takes. 1. How many employees do you have per country and how complex is that market? 2. Where is that headcount going in the next 12 months? 3. Have you run the actual crossover maths? If the answer to question 3 is no, start there. The calculator is free. It takes about 2 minutes, and it gives you a number you can defend in any budget conversation. If you want to go further, book a 30-minute working session with a teamed specialist. Bring your current invoice, your headcount projection, and your target countries. We will model the crossover line by line with your real numbers. No demos, no sales deck, just the calculation. If this was useful, subscribe. We publish one of these every week. Global hiring, compliance, and the maths behind the decisions that actually affect your business.